Let's even talk about the history of Nollywood. It didn't just start from the 1992 release of Living in Bondage. Before then, we had Herbert Ogunde staging theatre plays. We had the first Nigerian movie, Palava. So we have that rich history before the boom of Asabawood, before quality was, watered down for quantity.
If you look at, the earliest movies, they were all about cultural identity.
Yeah.
It was all about how we could project the African culture. But after a while, it became, I think, a business that was free for all.
Why do we think that Nollywood has overshadowed other African film industries?
What made us overshadow one is volume and velocity.
True.
Because we produce more movies and at shorter time. You might see a movie come out this month, 2-3 months later, part 2 is out.
What they were able to do was to bring the imagination of other African countries who were not exposed to some certain things in our culture and put it on TV. And it was really intriguing to so many people, like the Juju aspect.
Our distribution was top notch.
Yes, you cannot beat that. In the midst of the fighting in Sudan, they still watch Nollywood movies.
Today we actually have a special guest of honor, Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry is actually part of the Fable Forge team. He does a lot of behind the scenes, heavy lifting for us. But today he decided to join us and he's in front of the camera today. Welcome, Mr. Henry.
Hi, Styles. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for having me today.
A lot of us grew up watching Nollywood movies. And personally, I have a love-hate relationship with it. And it's because some of the plots are crazy. The acting can be crazy, the storylines crazy, and sometimes even culture is misrepresented. But before we get into that, let's even talk about the history of Nollywood. It didn't just start from the 1992 release of Living in Bondage. Before then, we had Herbert Ogunde staging theatre plays. We had the first Nigerian movie, Palava, and other movies that were pioneered by directors like Ade Love, who is the father of Kunle Afolayan. So we have that rich history before the boom of Asabawood, before quality was, watered down for quantity. So let's talk about that. Do we think that that period was a golden age of Nollywood, or was the whole emphasis on quantity over quality, was it just wrong?
I think at that point, let's call it the pioneers of this kind of art form, were looking at how to, in projecting Nigerians' culture, passing information. It could be, a storyline where there could be some kind of morals learned from it. But fast forward after so many years, I guess some of the producers realized that, hey, they can actually make a killing. And they started churning out movies left, right, center. The characters became exaggerated. The acting became something else. And I think the plot was missing from the whole concept. Because if you look at, the earliest movies, they were all about cultural identity. It was all about how we could project the African culture. And I know back then, they were big on learning morals.
True.
Obey this custom. You have to be there for your parents. These are the duties of the elders in society. They're there to shape morals and all of that. But after a while, it became, I think, a business that was free for all.
Yes, it was all about profit.
The quick cash.
And now it's about identity too. Because now they know us as people that do witchcraft.
Oh my goodness.
And I think it's because I think they fed on that narrative
Yes,
of,
a lot.
that telling a story that would intrigue your audience. And everybody loves a scary story.
Sensationalism.
Sensationalism.
Yes.
Everybody loves that part where they want to hear, oh, we went through this dark tunnel and this happened to us. And immediately they notice this was a bestseller. Everybody became the wicked stepmother.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody became the village person. To
Mama
the
G.
point right now, there's actually a phrase, my village people, may they not see me.
Can you imagine?
And it's so unfair it's so unfair to our heritage and our culture, because
Yes.
these village people are just trying to survive.
They're trying to survive.
Trying to, go into farming, trying to keep our custom that is, ever since lost. Because
True.
whether we like it or not, the current custodian of our culture and our heritage are the people in the village. And the village people they're not ritualists. They're not witch doctors. They're not headhunters. They're just
Yeah.
people trying to live their lives the best way they know how in a very rural community.
It doesn't still mean that we don't have this kind of people there still, Mr. G.
You see, your mind has been polluted with
it
the
has not.
sensationalism.
No,
Your mind has been polluted with sensationalism that you feel that everybody in the village or some people in the village there are witchcraft and wizards in the city.
Okay.
Whether you like it or not. I think it's a human nature thing. There are people who are bad for whatever reasons they want to be. And it's so unfair for me to go back to my ancestral home and say, hey, I cannot shake this person because in one Nollywood movie, if they rub my head, it means they've
crazy.
taken my destiny and all of that. It doesn't add up.
Funny thing is, back then, I can say that one of the major things that was done was trying to push the agenda of religion out through movies.
Yeah.
Because back then, that was when Christianity, Islam came. So
Yeah.
people were trying to get people's mind out of traditional worshiping
Yes.
to Christianity. And so that's why you see on most movies, when you see a native doctor, he's up for evil.
And it's so unfair.
And then you will see that a pastor comes to fight. But the funny thing is that there are some pastors that are worse than native doctors.
Exactly.
True.
Like,
There are some pastors that are more evil than native doctors. What they do on a daily, some native doctor, if they hear them, they will shout Jesus.
I don't even know
Because-
if you guys have watched The Herd, the movie.
okay, I
Yes,
think I
the-
saw the trailer.
Oh my God, what those pastors did in that movie. Hey, God.
So the thing is, nowadays, what I feel has been the trend is people are trying to see that there's a balance between the traditional and the religious that we have now. That's why I see sometimes you see that you put a native doctor, what he does is to heal, to provide solutions,
Yes,
to bring
I prefer that
herbs,
balance.
to bring
Yes,
herbs
balance.
to people. So there's a certain set of directors and movie producers that are trying to see that they bring this to light, because the only notion that we have of a native doctor is that he's out for what he can do is to perform rituals.
What a
What he
shame.
does
What a
is
shame.
to bring catastrophe. Even as eye of the gods, you're supposed to be like a consultant for the gods to the people. He's still being portrayed as an evil
person.
Yeah.
which is not supposed to be so.
True.
He's supposed to be like a priest, a normal priest in the church, like a pastor. That is work of the native doctor.
Exactly.
Even though the gods that they follow might not be as holy as we think, but they still do good for the
people.
community.
Yeah.
They make sure that there's the rain that they suppose follow, because they say what you believe works for you.
Yeah.
So if you believe that this is what brings rain will come if you follow it. If you believe that this will make your children get healed, to follow it. So now we, instead of us to focus on in saying that okay, Nigerian traditions are being followed, but still trying to direct it in the right path, we are trying to see that every culture in Africa, traditional culture, is of evil
Which
and
is-
not of
we
good, which
shouldn't
is
be
very
so.
bad.
And I
Yes.
think one of the resultant facts is because of the demonization of every other belief system that is not Abrahamic,
Yes, Abrahamic. Yes.
in nature. And when you say herbalist is somebody who puts herbs together. But
heal.
because of the
Yes.
way it has been demonized, the instant you say a herbalist, the first thing they mention or the first thing they think of is a diabolical doctor,
Like
a witch doctor,
yes.
a witch doctor who is coming to
Casting spells.
casting spells, evoking evil spirits and all of
Yeah.
that. And I think that is what has actually changed the perception. It's a great thing if new producers now are trying to, expose, or should I say, not expose, but rather put in a good light who these people are. It will somehow help. But unfortunately, I'm afraid that the damage has been done already.
True.
It doesn't
It's
still,
done already.
It doesn't still change the fact that we still have some of these native doctors doing bad.
It
But there are
doesn't
also
change-
pastors and imams
thank
and
you.
other
You took the word out of my mouth.
religious leaders doing bad. Doing bad is not a symptom of a religion.
Yeah.
It's a human condition.
Yes.
I would say. So like these religions are just institutions, like the mosque, the church, the shrine, African traditional religions. They're all institutions and human beings are all flawed. So of course there will be some worshippers or some leaders that will lead people astray, and then there will be the good ones that are following the dictates of that religion. So like he said, we just need balance. So perhaps when traditional African worshippers start creating movies and are not ashamed to depict Obatala or Anyao or Chuku like in their real essence and show that okay, these gods, they all have. This God can be angry, he can be merciful, he can be a provider, he can be kind and all of that. Every religion has its bad sides. So we just need balance.
Yeah,
like
I
he
feel
said.
like it got to.
I don't know.
it got to-
Is it safe and is it fair to say some of the religious practices are good and bad? I think they all have the role they play. Like you've rightfully said, like, a deity might be the one responsible for punishing those who go to do some kind of evil, while others are responsible for maybe the pregnant women. So, for example, if we now encounter that deity or that God that is responsible for punishing people, are we now going to say he is the bad God or he is the evil God? His role is to punish those who have erred.
Well, that's all about perspective. Someone can still interpret it as that God is being bad. And I suppose that's why that person can abandon that religion and convert to another one. So, yes, there are different reasons why people convert. Sometimes it's by force, but sometimes people feel like, this my God is too vengeful, too angry, too, demanding too many sacrifices. Why don't I go somewhere that aligns with whatever I believe in? Something like that.
There was this video I watched of Pastor Aaron where he was talking about how we portray our gods and how the Americans portray. So you see that they made us to love gods like Thor, Zeus, Hercules, even Hades himself. There are movies that they portray Hades as a good person. But whenever you mention Shango or you mention Obatala, what's the name? Sorry, I cannot pronounce properly. So once you mention these names, most times we see them as, okay, these ones are evil. They are not of the Christian race, so we are not supposed to associate ourselves with
because
them.
they are African.
But the same things that those gods do, the same thing that Shango does, is the same thing that Thor does. Thor is a god of thunder. Shango is the god of thunder too. So they actually have the same things. So why do we exalt Thor and demonize Shango when
because
they are
of the
actually
depiction of how it was in
when they are
movies.
actually the same?
I mean, it's the Western perspective. Those people have had their own time of being colonized by the Roman Empire and being Christianized, and their own Thor and Freya and their other gods and goddesses were demonized too. So it's just now that they also are coming to that consciousness of, okay, yes, I can still be a Christian or whatever I'm practicing and still revere my ancestors, still participate in my traditional religion and all of that. So let's take that back to Nollywood now. We have seen how some of these stories, like whether they're myths, folklores, legends portrayed in Nollywood movies, we have seen how all of those are portrayed. Why do we think that Nollywood has overshadowed other African film industries, even though it wasn't the pioneering African film industry? Because the first film screening that was held was in Egypt, then another one in South Africa and all of that. But then Nigeria came from nowhere, came like in the 90s, came from nowhere and then dethroned everybody. And now we basically colonized people with Nigerian culture. You go to African countries and, they're speaking Nigerian slangs, speaking pidgin. Some of them even do like a quasi Nigerian traditional wedding in their events. It's crazy like that. So you can see the impact of Nigerian cinema on African culture.
The truth is, I feel like we're just too good.
Too good in what sense?
If you are talking about too good, we are not that good. Have you seen South African movies?
Oh no, they're coming up. No,
They're not coming up.
up.
They have better cinematic view than us.
So I'm saying,
what the
why
thing is-
have we overshadowed?
So now what made us overshadow? One is volume and velocity.
True.
Because we produce more movies and at
Yes.
shorter time than they do, and we have better marketing publicity. That was what pushed what Nollywood success is a bottom top globalization success that they had. That means they started from the grassroots. That's making movies that appeal to the masses,
that are relatable.
that are relatable to the
Yes.
masses.
Yes.
The storylines are storylines that the masses enjoyed. So they go any day. Back then, you can see that you might see a movie come out this month. 2-3 months later, part 2 is out. So you'll be wondering, when did they shoot? When did they edit? When did they put?
2-3 months.
Yes.
It was closer than that.
Yes, it was that close. 2-3 months
was
later,
closer than
another
that.
part 2 is out, and you see that already people are rushing to it. So Nigeria was not bothered about the technical know-how of the movies, but they are more bothered about the market and the storyline. So they focus on, okay, this story must relate. It must be something that if they watch, they will like. So once the script is out, they act it. The editing part is the fastest part that they do. They just rush the editing part and get it out. And back then, we don't know that, okay, camera boomer is not supposed to show. This picture is supposed to be this qualitative.
yes.
What we're consuming is that,
The
Mr.
content.
Sam Loco is giving you
But
what
me, I
you need
used
to
to
do in
notice
this
those
part.
things. So even as
Yeah,
a child,
they were very
I'll be
noticeable.
enjoying. That's why I said I have a love-hate relationship with it. So even as a child, I'll be laughing at some Ike and Popo things, then be angry at some other things. I'm saying
Yeah.
like,
Or you hear the
this thing
footsteps
should not
of the
be there.
cameraman.
Do you get?
You
Or someone
know.
say,
Their
oh yeah,
voice.
becoming like.
I can say that in my experience, there are some of all this. They say that the ghosts look at the road left and right before closing the road.
Or someone
See,
tasting
funny
a
enough is
pot of
that
poison
we never,
before,
it never came to
serving
my
it.
consciousness when I was small watching those. It was when I come back to rewatch some of the movies. I was like, wait, did I actually enjoy this movie
you
back
enjoyed
then?
it.
So it was your level, your intellectual level at that time.
So
as
that
a
was
child.
so I know what they did is that if you go to Onitsha market, who will stand by analyzing a movie for you?
Like-
If you go to where they sell TVs, they play those movies there. People in the market will come and stay there and watch. So they can put what they do as a marketing strategy is that they will put half of the movie for you to see. Then they will tell you
the appetite of
yes.
your
So once you
consumer.
get enticed by the movie, you will go and look for the movie to complete it.
Wow.
You go and look for the movie to complete it because you've seen half in the market
Yeah.
and you want to finish. You want to know how this movie ended. You want to know how that wicked stepmother finished or how this person that was doing ritualist, how it ended. So you go and look for the movie to finish it. And by then, their market is growing. And again, one other thing is the diaspora effect that we had.
Yeah.
So most of these producers had family members, friends that were abroad. So it was easier for them. And back then, restrictions were not as much as it is now for exporting and stuff. So it was easier to get things outside. So they get these movies outside. Even abroad, it's being shared. So one of the things that they do is for them to be able to touch base with their culture back home. So these Nollywoods serve as the medium for them to keep
connect.
up to connect.
Yes.
So they share it to the Nigerians and other African country members that are in diaspora abroad. So it helps to keep, and definitely they have to buy. So and they even buy it higher amount that we buy it here.
Wow.
So they end up getting
high.
more money, and it comes back home, and they keep producing more. Without is something that other countries were focused on. This movie must be perfect.
Yeah.
So they take a year, 2 years to produce one movie. In that time, Nigeria produced 1,000 movies.
Wow. So,
So you cannot beat that.
Our distribution was top notch.
Yes,
Our
you
distribution, because
cannot
imagine
beat that.
Igbo traders are all over the world. So
Yes,
think about that.
yes.
And then they are producing these movies in Asabawood. You know,
Because
so,
you come to think of
yeah,
how will you
so
think
was
that
a great
in the
distribution
midst of the fighting in Sudan, they still watch Nollywood movies.
You can imagine.
Even a
I
terrible
heard a
place like
story
Sudan that you see.
when Liberia, they were fighting like a civil war, and then the armed militia, they dropped down their guns because they saw a shipment of Nigerian movies passing, and they were like, no, they will not fight. They need the movies. So yes, they stopped the driver, took the movies, and that's the impact of Nollywood on Africa.
I think what they were able to do was to bring the imagination of other African countries who were not exposed to some certain things in our culture and put it on TV. And it was really intriguing to so many people, like the Juju aspect. I will never forget the day I was in Kenya. I was about to check in, and the air hostess, so the lady in front of the counter, told me, "You're Nigerian?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I love your country. I would love to visit because of what I see on your movies and all of that. But I'm scared." And I asked her why. She said, "Because I'm going to use her to do juju." And I was like, whoa, all of these things you see, it's all exaggerated. It doesn't happen. You just don't walk around and you see somebody flying in the middle of the day. So I think, when they exaggerated these things, it heightened the consumer who has never heard or seen things like this.
Yeah.
This does not necessarily mean that you don't have black magic or some kind of witchcraft or wizardry in this place. But the way we portrayed these tropes, it made the consumer fascinated about it.
Yeah.
And in the instant the producers realized that they had something going on with this particular trope mongering, if I want to call it that, they latched on it. And that's why everywhere you go to, you hear people saying, if you're a Nigerian, it could be money rituals and all of that. And come to look at it, this money ritual thing, does it actually work? It doesn't.
The thing
doesn't.
is that actually this actually goes back to the demonization aspect, because these things contributed to the. Someone said that these things gave birth to the industry of babalawo, the industry of ritualists, which were not actually in existence back then. So someone said, okay, since this thing is actually is something that is trending, that people actually believe it, why not let me stay, okay, I'm a native doctor. This thing you're seeing, I can give you.
Yeah.
So you will come, you try first one, you say it didn't work. You say it's because you did not believe. Bring the second one. You keep paying money. You see native doctors that have security, they have secretary,
Wow.
they have this thing. But you are wondering how? Because they are just there making money off people.
You're right. And it's really sad. I remember a case that happened, I think it was somewhere, maybe Ibadan, one of these states, where a young man dating his girlfriend, unfortunately unalived this girl. Part of the ritual was that he should cook part of her flesh, eat it and feed some to the mother somehow. What? And if that happens, he will make his money. Upon investigation, he was discovered and arrested. And while he was giving his statement, he said the witch doctor, told him that if he did all of these things and say some incantations and all of that, he would make the money. But the problem is the money did not come. Now, which buttresses my point to say, look, these things don't actually work. It's an imaginative things that were put in Nollywood that has become almost reality to them, and people are running with it.
So it's like Nollywood created a new industry of opportunistic entrepreneurs that are just jumping on. Okay, since this one is moving, me too. Let me just say I'm a baba. Like, how do you prove that I'm authentic or not? If it doesn't work, like you said, I'll just tell you your faith is too small. You know,
to borrow a leaf from what he said, like Henry said something in the lines that you keep trying and they keep telling you it's because you've not done this, you've not done that, you've not done this. After several trials, then maybe on the 10th trial, maybe it's just a stroke of luck or the laws of nature came to play. If you're consistent at something, is either you're stupid at it or you get results. You now get answers. You now hinge your faith to that action you have done with this witch doctor, saying that it was this thing this guy did for me.
Then you now tell other people.
Then other people try. It doesn't work out for some. It works out for some. Right. It continues like that into a ripple of madness and confusion.
Many people have died because of that.
Yes.
Them trying to get to the process. They will say, go and sleep in the graveyard.
Oh my
days.
goodness.
They don't come back. They are dead.
And all of these things were just things that a writer and a producer sat down and said, how can I make this, quote unquote, create a cinematic experience? Let's do this, let's do that. It's mystique enough and mysterious enough for people to want to, gawk at. And they put it into play and people consume these things, unfortunately. That is why an average Nigerian will travel out of this country and say, hey, if you're spending too much money, you must be a ritualist. You must have used your mother. There are other African countries that will tell you, these certain people, the reason why he has a mansion, he sacrificed his mother, all thanks to Nollywood.
And God be tell you are young.
But it's not all bad. It hasn't been all bad. Thankfully, there is an emergence of new cinema, new directors, new actors, new storytellers that are shifting and changing the narrative. There are better stories coming out of Nollywood, not only in terms of quality, but also the quality of the stories. The stories are doing better. I would say for me, the defining moment was watching The Figurine by Kunle Afolayan. Oh, I love that movie. I remember when it was free on YouTube, I would go binge on it, watch it, and it would just give me this sense of pride, like, we finally arrived. Like the suspense, the tension. There was that element of old Nollywood in it, of, something mystical. But then towards the end, there was an explanation. And I think that's what old Nollywood was missing. Everything was spiritual. There was no logic at the end. So the figurine changed that. You would see that mystique, like, people are dying. Was it because they stole the figurine from this shrine? But then towards the end, you realize that actually this person is a jealous person and he's sort of a serial killer, you know? So
that was
yes,
one movie that
the
I know that
figurine
I
was
watched.
a defining moment.
That's the one movie I watched that I know that Nigeria actually tried in bringing out a plot twist in a movie. I've not seen a plot twist in Nollywood, but if you watch the figurine, that plot twist was mad.
It was really good.
Because you would never see it coming. If you watch that one from the beginning, you would definitely believe every part of it.
Especially if you have that Nigerian mentality of
Only for you to know that the sculpture,
forces.
that the sculpture was just being replicated. So what happens is that they will go, let me say you take this and they say it's evil. They'll go and burn it. They'll come back home, they'll see it at home.
And then you'll be scared. Oh my
Not
God,
knowing
it came
that someone
back
has already made it, put
and
like
carved.
50.
Yes.
Cast like 50 and put inside.
So if
and
you throw
Ghana
away
must go.
one,
So
you
if you
bring
throw one,
back.
you remove one and drop it. So you'll be thinking that's what is happening. And every other thing was, most of these were just coincidence. And it kept falling exactly how the person wanted. Not knowing that it was just coincidence. The worst part, the house burning was actually carbon monoxide from a generator. When the man saw that it's actually happening that way, he left it and the house got fire and someone died. So they now felt, okay, this is from the figure.
So there were some coincidences that came to play.
A lot of it in that movie, which actually, the ending was mad. I was like, wow.
Can we talk about how the music and the sounds played a vital role?
Ooh, I still have favorite songs from the 90s and early 2000s from
As
Nigerian movies.
Watching movies with those sounds, you'll be so scared.
Like,
Like, what is that? The piano?
yes.
You guys did well.
Growing up, I didn't pay attention to the songs like that. Although we do sing them.
Yeah.
Because, okay, it's just the song of the movie.
They were very catchy.
Then growing up now, listening to the songs, I was actually one of the things that actually took me off Nollywood for a second, because how can I be watching a movie from the
Soundtrack,
From the soundtrack, I've already watched the whole movie.
Something like husband is useless.
Because the soundtrack will tell you the entire movie.
Or something like, wicked stepmother. Because of money,
It was so
you
appalling. I was
sacrifice
like,
your
what?
last song.
Why, oh why?
Another thing that cracks me up again is, like, the soundtracks they put in some of the movies. You hear something like kung, 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 and you look at the scene, he's going to fetch water.
Yes. Yes.
Like, how do you add all of these things together? Why create a dramatic sound such as that one,
For fetching
and
water.
you wasted it for someone who goes to the well to fetch water?
for that one,
I
I can-
do it intentionally.
I can
like,
back that
I
one.
wanted
It's-
to vex you.
Yeah.
So you'll be vexed and be
I
watching.
watch.
I'll be like, what
I'm
kind
like,
of
what
rubbish
is
is this?
it?
But you're still watching. Oh.
No, I felt it was their own way of trying to create suspense.
Yeah.
You know,
But the
if you-
suspense was not coming at the right
No,
time.
you know, even if you watch horror movies, to be fair, if you watch horror movies, there are times that they will build your suspense to a certain level in some scenes that you're expecting something to happen, but it won't happen there.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's intentional. But
So
explain
I'm
to
telling
me
you
when you're going to fetch water.
I'm telling you, in their own
said- he
knowledge,
said,
probably that's what they are trying to do. They are trying to get it out that way. But ending up, they are not getting it perfectly the way it's supposed to
Yeah.
be. But that's the message they're trying to do.
Yeah,
Like
maybe-
They're trying
another
to build
thing again,
suspense.
sometimes you see, like, they don't even do proper research in some, I'm not trying to fault all of the movies. But for example, maybe there's a medical scene. There are ways you are supposed to administer CPR. They won't do it properly. They just, you put drip, all of these things. But I'm glad that some movies, like, I think one of the movies that really, really stood out for me is October 1st. Now, I love the idea of them going into history, trying to bring out
That
some
was a good
historical
one
facts
too.
and all of that. Because I think we need to get more of these kind of movies. Maybe something on Biafra War, maybe something on a historical event that happened. It could be with our culture. It could be with something. But I think it's just a money spinner for most of the producers. It's amazing now that they are more conscious about the quality of work, the kind of acting, the props they use and all of that. Maybe it's more financing, maybe it's more availability of some equipments that is now, at their disposal, and that's why we're beginning to see these things. But there's a need for intentionality in what we do.
I can say I kind of not agree with that fully, because there are movies now that once you start the movie from the beginning, you can tell what happened at the end.
YouTube
Especially with the
movies.
soundtrack.
And
Oh my
that is
God,
and funny
YouTube
enough,
movies.
that is what is rampant
Yeah.
nowadays. And to be fair, I can even prefer some of the old movies than now.
Even me, I
Yeah.
go back and watch
Even
old
though
movies
those
on
ones are
YouTube.
not of good quality,
But
the
the
quality
stories-
now and bad storytelling is because it's almost like you are watching one movie in different phase. It's just like all those short Chinese, Japanese movies that
those
you see just
reels.
shots to
And
those
do you know
those
the-
shots
the
because that's
funny
exactly
thing
what
is-
happens.
Yeah.
Is that a gate man that you end up falling in love
Love-
with his boss?
it's always about
or,
love.
or you
Yes,
is,
what?
or,
We
or
have
someone
more
or a
stories in
neighbor.
Africa to tell. We are not. Yes, we are lovers, but we're also fighters. We are, we have stories. We're mythical
are just
people. We're
focused on
mystic
one
people.
thing.
We're historic people.
It
We're
has to-
culture. We have depth.
sometimes
love is
even
not
if
the
they
only
start-
story that can be told.
Even if they start, they will end it with the love.
You will start
What is the issue?
once
You
you
understand.
see
Everybody needs
this.
love, but
funny
I beg.
enough, they'll just pick two major actors. Once they pick this major actor, female, and
there
this
may be
major actor,
one
female.
friend each for them.
Once you see them,
Cast
you already
of
know
females.
that
And
this
a-
and this
and a
person just
house.
end up falling in love.
One house. They will act that whole movie in
This
a house
person will
and
end
a
up falling in love
restaurant.
with this person, and already the movie has ended. I was like, what is this? So it's just so annoying. That's why
Very
sometimes if I watch South African movies, you can see the diversity in South
Yeah.
African movies. There was a particular series, I've forgotten the name. It's about wedding, this thing. So how people meet. It's about love too. But already you will see that the movie have the same name, but you just have a little add on to it. It's like they did it for a series for like 5 or 6.
Oh, I
different-
know the one you're talking about is on Netflix.
Yes. So that particular movie, you see from each one, there's connection between each and every one of them. There's someone from this movie that end up being in the other movie. They end up being in the other movie.
Interesting.
I watched all of them, and you see that there's connection between from the beginning to the last. There's something that, and there's if you go back,
Top-notch
if you see a particular
creativity,
scene in this part 2, you know that you saw something like if you go back to part 1, that person that you saw him that is now being projected in part 2. If you go back to part 1,
Yeah.
you will see him at the background of part 1. So that is
Interesting.
that they pay attention to details. They know how to tell their stories.
So we have a
properly.
lot to
So
learn.
Nollywood have a lot to learn.
It's not all bad. It's
You
not
know,
all bad.
Another thing, I think they know what to do, but they wouldn't want to spend that much money in maybe that perfection because it's sad to say this, we're a profit-driven society.
True.
And some people wouldn't want to take that long. Why will I spend 2 years, 3 years? Then that big what if it doesn't turn out to be a hit? I can do short stories, get some comical acts, do what it is, and put it out there. Forgetting now that globally it's currently Africa o'clock. Everybody's looking. I think it was a report somewhere on the net where some big Hollywood guy was saying they've exhausted Hollywood stories. The next place to look
Africa.
into is Africa.
Yeah.
And we have rich stories.
We
And
do.
here we are trying to look at colonial, will I say, for lack of a better word, a colonial-inspired kind of story, trying to portray Africa in a modern light. Yes, we are modern, but our stories are not unique when you portray us in a modern light. So it's best for us to focus on our traditional heritage, where it is strange, new, fascinating to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And that's how we'll be able to project our culture. And by doing so, disseminating our heritage in terms of our moral standing, in terms of how we're supposed to conduct ourselves in our society, not forgetting that the whole of Africa is like a communal place where people it takes a village to raise one another, if I want to put it like that.
Yeah.
So we also need to find a way of promoting that communal living. If you look at today's Nigeria, neighbors don't know themselves anymore. But back in the day, it's your collective responsibility to not necessarily poke nose in your neighbor's business, but to be there for them. And these are the ways we can push the ideals of our heritage as Africans that we are. Remember growing up as a child, you do something terrible in your neighborhood. Your neighbor will spank the hell out
Beats
of
the
you.
hell out of
You
you.
would, they might even bring you home to report to
But
you.
now we
And
don't
your
even
parents
know.
will tell your
Abeg,
neighbor,
beat am for me,
spank him again for me. That's some form of communal living.
But you
and
dare
all of
not
that
do
is
that now.
gone
Now we don't
because we're
even
now
know, we
trying
don't even know
to.
who is living next
You
to us.
dare,
don't.
you
We
dare
don't.
not even look at another person's child somehow. Because if the parents see, they will actually think you're actually planning something for their child.
Probably
Which is
assault or
actually they actually have their reasons for that, because back then there's a certain level of security than now. However, still they say it takes a community to grow a child. So if you focus on you alone, you are let's say parents in Abuja, you are a working class parent, both the father and mother are working. You leave your children to a nanny. A nanny will only give them what does a nanny know most of the times? For her, is unless you go for a corporate nanny who is educated.
Yeah.
If you say go and pick someone from the village, whatever that child will learn at home will be what that nanny instills in that child.
True.
Except you're an
That's
intentional
so
parent.
scary.
Very
Yeah.
scary.
Except you're an intentional parent.
Yeah.
And if you focus on that alone, your child will end up being wayward. You now be asking yourself, where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? You actually went wrong in every aspect.
Who did I offend?
You actually went wrong in every aspect. And now that actually boils down to also the kind of, because now if you are not at home, you don't know what the nanny is putting out that your child is watching
True.
back at home with the nanny. So now again, that's also goes back to the kind of movies. If we produce movies that are of good quality, very educative, and very historical, then parents will have no problem. You can hardly see a parent now telling his child to watch a Nollywood movie. Because whatever is in that movie they feel it will corrupt the child.
Yes.
But a child can watch a Hollywood movie every day, anytime, and they will even still be okay, except the ones that are very violent. But there are movies that are even which movie in Nollywood that you see that is 13 plus
PG-13.
or that is PG-13?
Come to think of it, as we were talking now, it dawned on me.
No
that
movie,
I have not
no-
seen
no
a PG.
Nollywood movie
You
that
just
is PG-13.
consume as you want to, and just
We just
everybody
focus
can have a
on
field day.
making money.
Crazy.
We just focus on making money. And one thing again is when Mr. G was talking, I was thinking about it. The industry now, like he said, is focused on making money, which the other nations are focused on pushing out their tradition. If not because we have social media, if it were just movies, Nigeria would not have the publicity that it has outside. The only publicity we have is the bad reps of Babalawo, cults, and ritualists in our movies. But pushing tradition is actually one of the. Back then, but that was something that was done. But now we are trying. If I can say that Nigeria is one of the countries in Africa that is trying to be very hard to be more Western than even the Westerners.
True.
If you check to any other other African countries are trying more to be more African, but we are trying more to be more Westerner than Africa in Nigeria. So that even goes to our movies. Because whatever we're doing now, we're talking about is always office, home, city. You hardly see, is once in a while you see one big director that will come and bring out a blockbuster movie that is of traditional, that carries a traditional thing, and that's it. You wait for another 2-3 years before you get that kind of movie again. But within that time, you have like 50-60 movies that only portray Western tradition, which is not supposed to be.
Yeah, they are crazy. But like there are a couple of filmmakers that are trying to change that narrative.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Children of Mud by Imo Umorin. So it's about the children that are termed witches in places like Akwa Ibom. And that is a direct it's a movie that was made as a direct response to the movies we watched growing up. Like those kind of Mount Zion movies that label children as witches. And those movies did a lot to the Nigerian psyche and the Nigerian worldview. A lot of people, once a child is,
Misbehaving.
not
Being
normal,
stubborn.
in quotes, like, yes, being stubborn,
maybe on the spectrum.
outspoken, yes,
Overly
maybe on the
stubborn.
spectrum, they'll just be like, this child is a witch. Or if misfortune is befalling the family and you just happen to be born around that time or you're younger, just anything. They can just be like, this child is a witch, and they'll throw you out of the house. And he is from that region. So I think it's very intentional of him to make a movie and show the bad side and show how society can even move forward and actually do away with those kind of cultures. So I think, yes, new filmmakers are combating those kind of stereotypes that old Nigerian movies brought about, which is really cool.
Is it only me, or I also feel like they use the same faces when it comes to acting, like the same actors usually all the time? Is it just me?
I think maybe the reason why they do that is to see, star power. If you use a certain star, he has, the audience. If you put him in a movie, his fans will definitely rush to go see
Yes,
it. And that's why, which brings us back to profit, making in all of the movies.
Like, my money. Let it come
It's
back
a good.
quickly.
Actually-
It shouldn't be profit versus quality. It should be, you can make your profit
Yes.
and also correlate it with quality.
Because I know I've sat down close to someone that searched for a particular actor just because she wants to watch
Oh, interesting.
his movie.
Well, I used to do that with Genevieve movies. I still do that. Like when I want to watch old movies on YouTube, old Nigerian movies, I'll go and be like Genevieve Naji movies. Then I'll be looking at them 1991, 1990.
Oh,
this
they're
one.
still on?
Yes, you go to
going
YouTube,
to
you will
watch.
find some of them, especially epic movies. You
Yeah.
know, they're really, really good. So now let me just ask you guys. I don't know if everybody is a fan of Nigerian movies. Do you watch Nigerian movies? Do you have some favorite Nigerian movies that you feel like they accurately depict and portray African culture? Like we're talking about demonization of African culture through film, but there are some films that, you know, make you proud, make you feel seen as an African, that okay, this movie, you know, yeah.
Okay, I can say one is it Amefuna, Amefuna, something like
Ahemefuna.
Ahemefuna.
Ah.
So that movie, you know, it talks about the
Traders,
master,
yeah.
no, the master boy
Igbo
system
apprenticeship.
Yeah,
in
yes.
Igbo. So there were plenty things that I never knew how it went. But in that movie, you will see how the process goes, how it moves.
Because I actually
through.
did not know
Because that
they
actually
used to give them
that
money
movie
at the
actually
end of-
portrayed
or give
that
them a cut,
system
yeah.
of the Igbo tradition. So and that tradition is a thing in Igbo land. Some parents actually take their children and give these people. I want to train my child, and at the end of the day, when the child is finishes, it's like a right that okay, I've served you for 10, 15 years. It's my right now for you to give me this, and if you don't give me what I'm due, is a problem.
That's what I was saying. I did not. I had
Is
no
a,
idea.
is a problem.
watching that
If you
movie
don't give me what I'm
enlightened
due,
me.
is a problem. So that movie actually puts me in that line. So so this is how it is. So if that's how you'll be wondering how someone will say that okay, I have a shop here. You'll be wondering how many brothers did he have in the market? You say, let me go to my brother's shop or my other shop to bring. It's either they are in the same market with his master. The master opened the shop for him here. So whenever he needs something that he doesn't have, he goes to his master's shop to pick it and come and give you. So now they share the profits of that thing that he brings for you. Or either he brings, if it's 15 naira from his master's place, he'll come and tell you 16 naira. So the master's profit is 10 naira. Maybe it's actually 14 naira. The master's profit is 10 naira. His profit is 10 naira if you buy it for that 16 naira. So that's a movie. Another movie is Lionheart
Oh, okay.
that Genevieve acted.
Yeah.
That also
Lionheart.
it also shows the relation of transport system between the eastern, the western, I said the eastern and the northern Nigeria.
Okay.
Because if you know, there was a part that they had to broker a deal of how the transport from the east would move into the north. That the father was adamant that no, he doesn't want this deal. He doesn't want anything to do with the north because of that notion that northerners are after and are enemies with the Igbos. So the father had that notion in the movie, but that movie actually showed that when in business you don't do enmity, and that was one of the best business trade he had between the man, because he was they put in the line that he's the owner, the northern man is the owner of Kano line because it was a Kano transport system and him is running the Igbo transport system, which Genevieve was the daughter that actually made that trade. So it actually shows that even in Nigeria, the transport system tradition, which flows from one state to another, there's actually like a border system that there are some cars that there are some transport systems that don't go to the north. Is only in the east, like this GIG. God is good. You hardly see God is good going to the north.
Oh, GIG means God is good.
Yes.
Oh my God.
God is good. You know they actually have the transport system. The same GIG has the logistics system. So they actually move on one side. So Lion had actually portrays that story. Then actually then for the Yoruba side. King of Boys, and there's this for another Milkmaid.
Oh, okay.
That one is for the northern. It shows the struggles of the north, even with the insurgents, the Fulani Hausa tradition, even with the struggle of the insurgents and stuff. So those are the movies that I felt that actually portrayed the tradition and the culture of. You hardly see a Nollywood movie that portrayed another African culture apart from Nigerian culture. Right now. I've not seen. So these are the ones I feel.
Mr. G, are you a fan of Nigerian movies?
I am a fan,
Are you
but
sure?
I don't watch movies that much.
So how are you a fan if you don't watch?
Yeah, look, I think I pick like October 1st.
Oh, okay.
I picked it and I loved, the experience that I got from that. I love the fact that a Nigerian movie can actually do something somewhat in a Renaissance manner.
I think because you're a history buff.
Yeah, so that was why I really enjoyed that. It was something that was practical, something we read from the books, something we heard from our parents, and the way they represented it and the storyline that were embedded into it made it stand out for me. For me, that's my go-to movie, if I want to mention a movie.
Favor, do you have any movie that you think, okay, this movie really, really represented Nigerian culture beautifully?
So the thing is, I watch movies a lot.
However,
Thank you. However, I don't remember the names.
okay, so you just watch, like,
I
let me
just
just
watch.
enjoy this thing. If
Yes.
it's rubbish, I've moved on. If I like it, okay, I like it, but I'll not
Yeah.
cram the title
No, I
or
don't
anything like
really
that.
leave the keep the
But
title.
why? Why will you watch a movie? It's actually
It's not
surprising that you see
just-
someone is watching a movie, you ask him what movie are you watching, you have to
I
check
the name.
title.
That's how I am.
How?
Misha, like, I think two of my favorite movies are old Nigerian movies from the 90s. One is called Ijele.
Oh, Ijele, yes.
Yes, and there's another one, Igodo. So they're epic Igbo films.
Igbo films.
So for me, I think Nigerian movies were my first introduction to Igbo culture. And even now, I'm an Igbo culture buff. Like some people sometimes say, are you Igbo? I'm like, no, I'm not Igbo, but, in spirit. So yeah, like for me, it's a really rich culture, and the way some of those epic movies were, told just made me fall in love with the culture. And up till now, I would say that, okay, I admire some, Igbo worldviews and their ideologies about hard work, diligence, and reverence of culture and all of that. So yes, I think that African movies have the power to do that. Like they can train up a child in a way that you feel proud of, even if it's not your culture, but it's still an African culture,
Yes.
and you'll be proud that, okay, I'm a part of this culture.
So this thing that you just said reminded me of something that I actually got to know, and I had a question in my mind that why is it that way? If you check Nollywood movies, it's actually Igbo centered. If they're doing an epic traditional movie in Nollywood, growing up, the epics are mostly done with Igbo tradition.
But nobody is stopping other people from doing their epics.
I'm coming.
Yeah,
I'm coming.
I think the northern part is coming up
It's
now.
not the matter of stopping others. Okay, what would happen that if we have an Igbo director make a research on the thief culture, or make a research on the Efik culture, or make a research on the Jukun culture in the north. In the north. So now, no,
That's your Igbo side coming out.
now the funny thing is that if you check, how do you think Hollywood makes those billion-dollar blockbuster movies? It's based off on research.
Yeah.
Some of those stories that they tell is not their culture,
True.
but they make researches and they come up with those, and they even present it in a way that is your culture. You'll be shocked that it's your culture.
Yes.
You
Why?
know, like
Because
I
they
said-
do good research. Someone can actually an Igbo person can do a research on a thief culture or Idoma tradition and bring out a movie on that culture, and it will sell. Why? Because it's a part that people have not seen.
I think they just like I said initially, it's just being safe. Nobody wants to spend all of that money and
don't want to
maybe
risk it.
so like that's why we have that cycle of repetitiveness. They keep doing the same thing over and over again. Why? Because it's a formula that has worked, and they do not want to spend hundreds of millions of naira and not get their return. It makes a
Then
whole lot
that's
of
you
sense.
not growing.
It makes a whole lot of
That's
sense.
you not growing.
But
Actually.
I think with the recent filmmakers that we have now,
Yeah.
there's that consciousness of trying to explore that things. How far can you go with the same thing you've recycled over and over again?
Funny enough,
People
they are
call
still
your bluff.
even the ones we have now. They are still in the same place. It's either Yoruba or Igbo tradition. It doesn't go outside that.
Oh, no.
And most
I feel like the northern
at
northern
most
part is-
you'll see maybe one or two northern. And that one will come in a very long time. And most of the times, once it comes to the north, there's always a blend of either Yoruba or Igbo inside.
You know what? I think
It's
I
hardly
think-
You can't
fully-
escape the
I think-
dominant culture.
It's
Thank
hardly
you. You just-
fully,
you just took
but
the
you can
words out of
see,
my
but you
mouth.
can see a Nollywood movie that is entirely Igbo, and you can see another that is entirely Yoruba.
So this is a mantle. It is a task that the rest of us, and even the inspiration behind Fable Forge Studios, is to tell African stories. So I like that you pointed this out, and it will stay in our consciousness
Yes.
while we're producing movies telling African stories, that we should be holistic. We should not, go to an area that is already saturated.
Exactly.
and
This
all of
message
that.
is actually directed to our
yeah.
top Nigerian directors and
Yes.
producers, because we need to tell other parts of Nigerian stories. Even we can actually have a mix. There was someone says on that if we actually want to have a robust African culture portrayal, there should be a collaboration, Nigeria and other countries, which actually Nigeria started with Ghana, but there was a friction and it ended. So, but we can actually, it's not only Ghana, we can have with Tanzania, we can have with Burkina Faso, just bring cultures, blend together. And just like the way if you watch this Namaste Wahala that they do with Indian culture.
Yeah.
So if you, do you know that you enjoy that, because the blend of Nigerian culture and an Indian culture was actually fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
You actually want to see how it will go. So if we have those kind of blends in Nollywood movies once in a while, it will actually grow and build to a very great extent.
Now that you mentioned this, it made me remember an old, yes, I'm an old Nigerian film buff. Old Nigerian film from the 90s. It's called Amina. Yes, Amina, it was Genevieve. She was there. I think Pete Edochie was an emir. So it was like a blend of Northern and Igbo culture. This Amina, she was originally an Igbo girl, and then she followed a nomadic Fulani family. They journeyed down to the north. So it was a beautiful blend of cultures. So I would say that they were doing it at some point. Maybe they saw it wasn't profitable. It's still back to money, back to ego.
Profits.
And yes.
Maybe at that
Last,
time.
the people producing these movies are businessmen first. So we need more creatives. And being in the art space, sometimes it comes with hunger. So I believe maybe some people just have to be sacrificial lambs and be like, for the art.
Let's
art
risk
for
it.
art's sake, not art for the sake of profit. So someone has to say, okay, yes, I know I may not make money, but let me take that risk just for the culture and for the history of African storytelling, and let's see where it
So
can
that
go.
means we are saying in a nutshell that most of our directors are not actually lovers of our tradition. They are more lovers of their profit than our tradition and culture.
one
we
thing
need
again,
more
actually,
people that have money to
earlier
get
on-
into filmmaking.
So
People
now
that
it's
have
supposed to
money.
be. So it's supposed to be
we
that.
need more
It's supposed to be
investors.
okay. It's supposed to be that if you are making a movie and you are trying to be traditional conscious, let it be that whatever you are doing first, the tradition is being portrayed first, and let's
Accurately.
Yes, accurately, and let that movie brings out whatever it brings. But your number one thing should be, okay, I'm putting out this tradition out. Yes, you can make so now it's left for you now to put it in a way that it must be appealing to people, and you will make your money back.
Like I said
because
earlier
just
on,
like just like if you watch Avatar 1, it made $1 billion, over $1 billion. Then Avatar 2, if you check Avatar 2, it also made $1 billion. Avatar 3, it also made $1 billion. Why? It's almost the same story. You just added things inside. Why does it keep making up to $1 billion? Because the storytellers, the creatives keep on getting ways to captivate people to watch it more and more.
and aside, us hinging it solely on culture, you can actually even create a fictitious culture and put it out there. That's the power of a creative. Yeah, a filmmaker is supposed to, go into some kind of imaginative ideology and bring out some certain things out. Yes, we need to put out our culture. I love the fact you mentioned thief culture. I have not seen anything from the thief culture. I think I'm aware of the thief culture, and I think it's really interesting. They have very amazing angles. But at the same time, maybe the quality of our film writers and our filmmakers should get more imaginative. That's what I think that's what they need to do. The imagination should, wow our minds. But unfortunately, everybody's playing safe. It's profit before quality. And that's the problem we have in the industry. Finance and profit should not be against quality. Quality and profit can work hand in hand.
True.
Because if you check, if you check South African movies, they don't get the publicity and the sell that Nollywood gets. But they never stopped there's none of their movie that you will not see a bit of their tradition being portrayed inside.
Yeah.
There is none of their movies, even the city movies.
And
tradition.
And one thing I noticed, while they speak English, they also make it a
Yes.
conscious efforts to put
But
in their
the
language.
thing is that we have how many languages in this part of the world? So that alone creates some kind of barrier. But even at that, it shows that there are over how many languages cultures and their heritage
Yes,
that
that
we
can explore.
we can explore. And at the same time, we can create, like the Avatar example, it's fictional, it's non-existent.
But you can see elements of African culture
Yes.
in
African
it.
culture and all of these things. So we can actually do stuff like that and see how we can portray our culture. Now that it is Africa o'clock, before it moves somewhere else, let's milk it and let's see
milk
how we
it.
can
So
push
that's
out
the
our
one
culture
major problem
and
I
what we
had,
have.
I had with Nollywood, the fact of diversity. It's so focused on some certain part of the country.
And
it leaves you.
like she rightfully said, dominance plays a role.
Yeah.
If you give the Yoruba people what they want, they have the numbers. They would buy, and in turn, it means that you make profit. If you give the Igbos, they have the spending power. They have the numbers as well. They would also want to, gravitate and levitate towards things like that.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
it's sad that most of these people are focused and more conscious about getting their returns. And that's the problem.
So, in conclusion, we just need more investments in the film industry. People that have money take African storytelling seriously. Like people just think of the entertainment value, but even for centuries, African storytelling was not just for the entertainment. It was a way to transmit culture from one generation to the next. It was a way to keep culture alive and to teach moral lessons. It was education. That's the way it shapes our identity and our worldview. If you tell a story right, it can enrich, it can empower, it can make you proud to be, from where you are, Yes, all of that. So storytelling is not just entertainment. So people that have money, bring it, put it in the movie industry, invest in our creatives. Let's push African storytelling. Let's push African narratives forward.
And I think another thing to also add to that is that with the investors, most of them might not understand the inner workings of how you make your money from, sponsoring a movie. So I think the need to also put out that education out there is key. It's somebody who understands only oil, for example, buying and selling trade. You tell him, come put your money in one movie, you make your money back. It's alien to him. So I think the need to also put that information out there that, look, it's a viable venture. It's a great venture to put in your funds. You make your returns. So people begin to invest. Obviously, Hollywood movies have investors. It could be a regular guy, maybe a real estate mogul, for example. Somebody approaches him and say, hey, put your money in this movie. He doesn't understand it. They make him understand it. He puts his money. Before you know, they're making billions, like the Avatars and so on, like Titanic that took forever to build. But I think the information and the education of business investment in the movie industry needs to go out there. And not just buy land, because right now all we do is real estate, oil, real estate, oil, and all of that. So that information needs to get out there for people to be aware, those who have the funds. It's just like maybe meeting a Dangote, for example, and telling him, come and give us 5 billion. He might laugh and say, are you people serious? I'd rather put that money somewhere in maybe another African country to explore maybe their limestone to make another factory or a cement factory and all of that. But if that information is put out there and there are people who understand the business and there are mediums for how these returns can come out, then I'm sure we'll get more people. It will be more intentional and we'll begin to see maybe the stories change and improve.
That's one of the major problems, is that we lack patriotism. That's the truth. Because if we're actually patriotic, we won't, the producers won't, both the investors and the producers, once they say, okay, this is a story that is supposed to promote Nigerian culture, when you are putting your money, the number one thing that should be on your mind is that I'm promoting Nigeria. That should be the number one thing that will be on your mind. I'm promoting Nigeria.
My country.
Even if I don't make the money that I put out, which might not be
average Nigerian.
Yes, which might not be an average Nigerians. That's the lack of patriotism I'm talking about. That is the lack of patriotism I'm talking about. Because an average Nigerian, the number one thing is that let me make my money back. Which someone that is patriotic might not have that in his mind. Yes, he want to make his money, but even if I don't make the money, the major thing that I'm happy is that I've promoted my country. I've promoted the tradition or culture in my country. That might be, so someone should feel that, okay, that is the profit I make, that I contributed to the growth of the culture.
Let's not also forget another factor that plays a very deadly role in the music industry: piracy. You put in your hard-earned work, you put in everything. At the end of the day, some people somewhere are pirating your movies. So I think these things would make investors even panic and know what to put in their money. But I think if all of these things are checkmated, maybe we'll begin to see people want to put in their money knowing that, okay, if I put in my money, nobody's going to pirate this movie or this project, and therefore my money will come back the way it is. It doesn't happen in other advanced country. You put in your money, you see your money come back. Even if there are piracies now, you will see them on the streaming platforms and the cinemas. They make most of their money from these areas, and boom, they plow it back and begin to see more cultural-based movies that will push our culture and our heritage to the rest of the world.
This thing that you just said reminded me that if you check most of these other countries, South Africa, Burkina Faso, Hollywood, they actually have a certain level of government backings and government fundings to their movie industries. But if you check Nollywood, it has almost zero to no funding or investment from the government. It's mostly individuals, which makes it even difficult to have that patriotism aspect of it. But if let's say there's a movie that's supposed to push out tradition, then the government are the ones that funded that movie. The government will not be focused on I must make my money back. I must make my money back, because that movie is supposed to promote the country.
True.
So that is their contribution
In Nigeria.
That's what I'm saying. I said that is when it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that once the government puts in the fund, the government will not come and tell you that I must make my money back. Because you are supposed to put that money to promote the tradition of your country.
Okay.
To promote your country. That is how
so
it is
it's
supposed
like
to be.
a grant. It's not a loan.
It's not supposed to be a loan. Or this is supposed to be that, okay, this is the country's contribution to Nollywood.
You know, I don't mean to prolong this, but something similar happened. I don't want to start mentioning names. There's a movie company, or should I say company, that does streaming. Before they exited Nigeria, so to speak, they were giving monies for movies, for people to go shoot movies. But unfortunately, some very crafty, and I don't want to call them clever people, would take 20% of that money, shoot the movie, thereby watering down the quality, and they pocketed the remaining 80%. So it takes us back to, I wouldn't want to say who we are as a people. It takes us back to we need to be intentional about it.
True.
And this is where we wrap it up.
So a letter to our producers and directors: quality over quantity.
Okay.